A Senate confirmation hearing turned its focus to law enforcement experience and the protection of children, as lawmakers questioned judicial nominees about their records prosecuting serious crimes. After confirming the hearing could proceed while awaiting another senator, the chair recognized the next speaker, who opened by congratulating the nominees and emphasizing the committee's commitment to confirming individuals who uphold the Constitution and the rule of law.
And as always, congratulations to you all on the nominations. We are working as hard as we can, and I know you've heard it from others, to make certain that we get through the nominations and confirmation process and to fill positions with people that believe in the Constitution and the rule of law and will conduct themselves accordingly. Mr. Ganji, am I saying that correct?
Yes, Senator, thank you.
Okay, just want to be sure there. I noted that you had served as both an acting and an interim U.S. Attorney in Texas, and looking at your materials, I was impressed by your aggressiveness and noted that you had filed 225 cases in a single week. A lot of those were narcotics offenses, violent crimes, immigration matters, and your career has included successful prosecutions. And I noted that you had taken on some complex cases dealing with human trafficking, child abuse, crimes against children. So talk about this experience as a prosecutor and how you would translate that experience.
Senator, I first speak to my experience as a prosecutor. You know, the one thing that I learned was how interconnected so many of these different offenses are. Having a secure border where we know where people are coming in is essential to preventing the trafficking of children or the human trafficking. You know, it is something that as the numbers come down, you see less and less of it, and that's a very good thing. As a judge, I understand how sensitive those cases are and how they be approached with great caution. We're fortunate in the Southern District to have phenomenal prosecutors that handle those cases. They're very dedicated. They handle them with great care, with great compassion. And so, I think that if I were selected as a judge, I would bring that experience with me, understanding that there's a tremendous human cost. There's certain crimes that maybe don't have an immediate apparent victim, such as, say, narcotics trafficking. There isn't a person you can name, but with sex crimes, crimes against children, there is a very tangible victim there. And so justice for victims is very important.
Thank you. Mr. Folks, I want to come to you in the same vein, because here at this committee, we've put a lot of work into fighting CSAM, my Report Act, which requires big tech platforms to report to NCMEC when they have actions against the safety of children. And then we're trying to establish a national human trafficking database. It is Senator Klobuchar and I completely bipartisan, but we think DOJ needs to have that. And there is a lot of work we've done in protecting children in the digital space. Senator Blumenthal and I have the Kids Online Safety Act that went through the Senate. We're trying to get it signed into law. And I know that you have prioritized the prosecution of some of these CSAM and child abuse cases. So talk about what you have done and how that would influence your work going forward.
Under my leadership at the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Western District of Arkansas, we have prosecuted child abuse cases and exploitation cases at over 3 times the national average, according to the Sentencing Commission and their statistics that they gathered over the last 5 years. We're very, very proud of our work there, and the work is so important because these are the most vulnerable members of our society. And when we take an oath to uphold the law and to seek to enforce the law, there's no greater opportunity to make our communities better and to safer than to prosecute those who would knowingly take advantage of children and exploit them in the ways that you've described. It's such important work. Going forward, obviously, it would be so important for a judge to consider all the appropriate sentencing factors which are taken into account, but those would be among the most important cases that any judge would review because the victims, again, are so vulnerable and such important members of our society.
Well, we appreciate the work that you all have done. I was talking with your governor this morning.
Yes.
And we were discussing the work that Arkansas has done to make certain, and the work she's led,
Yes.
To make certain that we protect our children in that virtual space, because most children today, if they encounter a drug dealer, a sex trafficker, a predator, a pedophile, a groomer, it happens first. That connection is first made in the digital space. So thank you for that work. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'm sorry I had to step out, but...
The senator then addressed one nominee, noting his service as both an acting and interim U.S. attorney in Texas. She highlighted his aggressive prosecution record, including filing more than 200 cases in a single week. Many of those cases involved narcotics trafficking, violent crime, immigration offenses, and complex investigations into human trafficking, child abuse, and crimes against children. She asked the nominee to explain how his experience as a prosecutor would inform his approach if confirmed to the bench. In response, the nominee described how interconnected criminal activity often is, particularly emphasizing the role border security plays in preventing human trafficking and child exploitation. He explained that as trafficking numbers decline, so do related crimes, an outcome he described as critically important. He added that cases involving children and trafficking require exceptional care and sensitivity. Drawing from his experience working alongside dedicated prosecutors in the Southern District of Texas, he said he would bring that same understanding and compassion to the role of a judge. He stressed that while some crimes lack an obvious individual victim, offenses involving children and sexual exploitation involve direct and deeply vulnerable victims, making justice for those victims essential. The senator then turned to another nominee, citing the committee's extensive bipartisan work to combat child sexual abuse material and human trafficking. She referenced legislation requiring major technology platforms to report suspected child exploitation, efforts to establish a national human trafficking database, and the Kids Online Safety Act, which has passed the Senate and awaits final approval. She asked the nominee to describe his prosecutorial record in these areas and how it would shape his future work. The nominee responded that under his leadership as U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Arkansas, the office prosecuted child abuse and exploitation cases at more than 3 times the national average, according to U.S. Sentencing Commission data from the past 5 years. He emphasized that protecting children is among the most important responsibilities of law enforcement, noting that there is no greater opportunity to improve community safety than holding accountable those who exploit society's most vulnerable members. He added that while judges must consider all required sentencing factors, cases involving crimes against children demand particular attention due to the severity of the harm and the vulnerability of the victims. The senator closed by praising Arkansas's efforts to protect children online, noting that many modern threats, such as drug dealers, traffickers, predators, and groomers, first make contact with children in digital spaces. She thanked the nominees for their work and commitment to child protection. The chair then resumed control of the hearing after briefly stepping out, as the session continued with further questioning.